Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for our weekly track roundup where I go over what I felt were the best and the worst tracks of the week. But bam, it's a special late night after hours swanky danky edition of this series. And this is going up Sunday. It's Baby Jesus' coming back day, although he was not a baby at that point. He was zombie Jesus at that point. But anyway, let's before we get down to business, of course I have to mention our Amazon associates link down there in the description. If you hit that link and you live in the US, anything you buy, we get kickback from it. Use it to buy some shit you were going to buy anyway. You're using it. We appreciate it. We see that you're using it. Helps out the show. Helps out the segment. If you use that shit, pat yourself on the back. And also, we have a similar thing going on with the good people over at Turntable Lab. There is a page linked in the description where you can pick up some vinyl, some cool, exclusive, very nifty pressings. At least they look exclusive. Some of them look like really high-end color vinyl shit. Over on this page of stuff I've reviewed, stuff I've recommended. Also, audio equipment as well for people looking to get into the wild world of record collecting and turntables. They also have great information on their site for people who are starting out and don't know too much about any of this stuff. And yeah, so hit up that Turntable Lab link as well. Again, anything you purchase off of that link, we get kickback from it. And finally, I have to mention our fantastic sponsor for this video. I'm not just saying that. The good people over at feedbands.com. The reason I say it's fantastic is because this is a music subscription service, a vinyl subscription service that is unlike any other I've ever seen before. They're using the power of crowdsourcing to create this completely unique experience where you have paid users taking music that has been uploaded to the site by artists who, happen to be on the site, happen across the site, get involved with the site, and they're commenting on it, they're listening to it, they're voting it up, and the stuff that ends up being the most popular, the stuff that the fans, that the users on the site are saying, hey, this is good, this is great stuff, that shit gets printed to vinyl. That's crazy. No one else is doing that. Of course, you can opt out of records, opt out of pressings if you're not into the music and sort of get something else, swap it out, like a lot of these subscription services allow you to do. That's cool. That's amazing. But they really have a unique approach to this that, again, I have not seen anybody else do. And again, if you're an artist, you're trying to get your music out there, you can put your album up on this site. You can have it commented on, voted on, sort of seen on this site by people who may stumble across it. But once you're kind of in the pool of artists who are kind of getting talked about and voted on, like there is a real possibility that your shit could get printed to vinyl. And unlike other subscription services, these guys aren't sort of just sending you records and kind of disincentivizing you from going to your local record store. They're actually doing a bit of a debut on this coming record store day because some of the records that they're printing to vinyl, they're kind of playing the role of a record label too, because they're printing these records and they're sending them out to independent record stores. So a lot of the records that these guys are printing, you're going to see them at record store day, this coming record store day. So if you go on the site and you look through the music that's really popular on there or look at the stuff that they're going to be printing, you may end up seeing that stuff in the store when you hit up record store day this coming week. So I don't know. I mean, they're doing something really unique and something to do with a freaking golden ticket, Willy Wonka style golden ticket type shit going on that I'm not even going to get into now because I've said so much about them already. And, I'll leave it to you to sort of look into that a little bit deeper. I think I've said what I needed to say at this point because, again, they are doing something truly unique with the site. So check it out, listen to some of the music on the site. If you're an artist, maybe put your music on the site, sort of see what they have going on because, again, I've seen and have advertised with a handful of these different vinyl subscription, music subscription websites. And what these guys are doing, it's definitely different. All right, let's get into the best and worst tracks. Starting off with the worst tracks, as usual, our good friends over in Linkin Park came out with a new track this week titled Good Goodbye, featuring Stormzy and Pusha T. Goddamn. Two artists who I would never think I would ever hear on a Linkin Park song, but here they are. And, honestly, the song is not lacking for anything that Pusha T or Stormzy brought to the table. But like what we've been hearing from this forthcoming Linkin Park album so far. It does not sound like a rock song. It just sounds like a garbage EDM anthem, and they're just going completely electronic. Like, anything about the band that was rock or metal previously is just totally sold up the river, and now we're just kind of, hearing some bad EDM anthems with rappers on them. Honestly, Pusha T and Stormzy are the best things about the track, because the verse before Pusha T's is absolutely cringe-worthy. I can't even talk. It's making me cringe so much thinking about it. I can't get the words out because I'm like, oh, there's so much corny inspiration all over this track. It's making me want to throw up a little bit. But that's really kind of the extent of it for the worst tracks this week. Not that there weren't other horrible tracks, there were, but I kind of wanted to clear this whole segment out, clear the whole worst track segment out. That Linkin Park track was too terrible not to mention. But I kind of wanted to clear this whole section out just to say the new Fast and the Furious soundtrack is one of the worst things I've heard this year. There almost is not a single track on this whole soundtrack that is not an overproduced piece of garbage. Like, I've never heard so much crappy trap in my whole life. Like, goddamn, were the artists, and some of these artists on this record, I like them. I enjoy their music. I mean, even the Migos tracks, even the Lil Yachty track on this thing is hot garbage. And I know you may hate Lil Yachty already. A lot of my fans don't like Lil Yachty. A lot of my viewers don't like Lil Yachty. But even if you listen to the Yachty track on this thing, it's easily one of his worst tracks, if not his worst track. Like, it's another level of bad. I don't know what to tell you, man. Just like every track, like all the worst tracks of the week, every track on this thing, worst track of the week. So that's why I needed to clear this section out, because it's just shit stacked on top of shit. And I don't know what else to say about it other than that, because I'm not reviewing this goddamn thing. All I want to do is have this be the last thing I say about anything on this having to do with this godforsaken soundtrack, because it really is auditory piss. And I just don't know what else to say about it, man. It sucks. It really sucks. Maybe toward the end of the year, like, I may mention it one more time if somehow I even think to remember when I'm making my worst albums of the year list. Though, again, it's not an album, but like is almost all the material on this thing, I believe, is original, if not all the material. So, and I believe like a lot of these tracks are sort of inspired by the film. You can really tell because It's like if that is the case, if the music on this thing is inspired by the film, it's like basically like two segments of a human centipede. You have someone's ass sewn to someone's mouth, and then that person's ass is sewn to that person's mouth, and then you just have two people continually shitting and eating each other's shit. And that's essentially what we have here. If we're talking about a situation where the music truly is inspired by the film. They're just eating each other's shit in an endless cycle. And that's all I have to say about that. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. So those are your worst tracks of the week. Moving on to the songs I was kind of meh toward, kind of indifferent toward, but definitely felt were worth mentioning. Okay, worth mentioning. This new, excuse me, I need to calm down. I really need to calm down, because that reaction there, that was a very passionate, very hot mess. Whew. All right. New DeMarco track over here that I got to mention. This song over here, On the Level, definitely kind of going forward with the trend of what we've heard so far with these DeMarco tracks. A little more synthetic, a little more spacey and dreamy, and lyrically definitely more depressing and personal and intimate too. While I'm not as in love with the very ambient sorrowful synth sound that this track is going for, like I'm not enamored with the sound of it, I do think it could be the type of track that hits me way harder when I hear it in context with the entire record. Because if we're hearing this sound kind of reinforced with a bunch of other tracks that sort of have a similar mood, a similar vibe to them, then it really could, click with me hard. But as a single, like, this is not anything that will most likely jump out at you, unless you really kind of dive into the lyrics, because they are kind of, dark, I would say. They are kind of sad. I have to say, this is probably the most intrigued I've been to hear a Mac DeMarco project in a while, because it seems like, definitely it could be a big sea change for him. You know what I mean? I'm definitely curious as to what he's going to deliver here, more than I was like before Salad Days came out, which ultimately I was disappointed by. But this really could be like a defining moment for Mac, because it seems like he's writing from a more personal point of view than he ever has before. So it'll be interesting to sort of see what he delivers on this record, especially based on the lyrics of this track, which, again, I thought it was decent. Not one of my favorites of the week, but certainly worth mentioning. Moving on from there, the new Black Lips track, Squatting in Heaven, which unfortunately I thought was kind of weak, definitely not as exciting as the previous single I heard from the record. While I do appreciate that it seems like they are going back to their rougher, more lo-fi, more wild sound, this is one of those instances where they get kind of muffled in their own mayhem, unfortunately. I definitely think that's the case here. Hopefully that doesn't end up being so for a bulk of the album they're about to come out with, but definitely the case on this track. Give it a listen. I love the album title and I love the album cover of this forthcoming record, but, this track really could have used a little bit of work and some clarity, I think. Shout out to Woods for the track Bleeding Blue, which felt like a very eerie, beautiful ballad. I'm just going to leave it there. I do think this is a good ballad. I am still kind of wary about whether or not I'm going to dig this new Woods record, though, because some of what I've heard so far just sounds like I'm listening to a bad, funky jam band. But this song really kind of felt like they were playing to their strengths again. I sort of felt that sorrowful mood that I love hearing out of a Woods track. They definitely channel that better than I think a lot of bands do. And, I'm just kind of hearing it manifest itself in another track that has just some good songwriting, some good backing instrumentation behind it. Definitely enjoying it. Moving on from there, the band Horror with the song City Rejects. Sonically, to me, this just kind of felt like a standard punk tune, though I do think these guys have a ton of attitude, and some of the lyrics on the track were kind of interesting. But if I am kind of throwing this track in here, it's to definitely recommend the music video, which I think is really creative. Not only does it bring kind of a strong message, but also just the aesthetics of the video, just the way it was kind of recorded and edited and everything is kind of really insane and off the wall. Really loved what the band did with the video. And again, I do think it is one of the more creative videos I've seen, in at least a year. It is a pretty off the wall, creative and very rough, wild video, with some very quirky editing and effects that I thought were pretty cool. Power Bottom, I want to give a shout out to this track LOL that they just dropped. Not a track that jumped out to me as much as what I've heard so far from their forthcoming record, kind of a more easygoing ballad type song. To me, not really a teaser track, although I guess the album, it's not around the corner. So I guess they wanted to kind of showcase that, hey, we're not just writing silly, kind of garagey poppy tunes over here. We can sort of, do a ballad too. And it doesn't sound bad. I'm just kind of, anticipating that maybe this will work a little bit more, be a little more exciting in the context of the record. Kamasi Washington with the song Truth. Kamasi Washington and company have a new EP coming out via Young Turks this summer that I am very excited to hear. Although this track I was kind of on the fence about it. I do think it's kind of a mild song. The chord progression didn't really stick out to me as anything special. The solos were decent, and the song really kind of works in three phases, the second of which to me almost felt kind of unnecessary in the grander scheme of the track, because there wasn't anything in the second phase of the track that was ultimately that exciting or added that much to the song, in my opinion. I thought the music video was really well shot and really thoughtful and really meaningful. Beautiful music video, actually. If there's anything, again, kind of I feel like I'm sort of in the same position with Horror over here. If there is something definitely worth recommending about this track, the music video is amazing. However, the third phase of the track really kind of is the major payoff of the song. I mean, the drums are going insane. Those chorus vocals that you heard on the Epic, those those grand choral vocals that are so amazing, just reaching orgasmic heights, are certainly here. It does not sound like as vivid and as pristine a recording as what you may remember from the Epic, but the performance is there, the instrumentation is there, the layers, the density is there. Just sort of hoping that the EP has more to offer than what this track did, because it definitely doesn't sound as risky or as adventurous as much of the material on the Epic. But, you know, I'm open to sort of having my mind changed on this track once I hear the whole project. But let's move on from there. I want to mention NxWorries. You know, Anderson .Paak and Knowledge just came out with a music video for the track Sacred Money, which is not new, but on the back end of that track, there is a remix of a song from their latest record that you should check out because they're about to come out with a remix album of tracks from their latest record. And I know a lot of people were sort of crazy about that album. I thought it was good, you know, crazier about that record than me. And it could be interesting to sort of hear like a lot of those tracks remixed, especially since the remix on this video didn't sound too bad. And those are the tracks that I'm just kind of mentioning over here. The songs that I was head over heels for. Got to give a shout out to Homeboy Sandman with Bamboo. This is the most animated, quirky, lyrical, fun, and fucking quotable I've ever heard Homeboy Sandman. This guy always wants me to, this guy always puts me to sleep. I always want to go to bed when I listen to a Homeboy Sandman track. This dude on the mic, I mean, not that I'm saying he's going crazy here or he's totally off the wall, but he's so entertaining and witty on this particular track, and I'm hoping that he can just kind of keep this slightly more animated delivery up on his forthcoming record. Not that every song needs to be really happy, but, you know, he just felt like there was more to connect with emotionally. You know, there was more personality there. There was more vibrance there. And when it came to the tone in his voice, when it came to his lyrics, not that the guy hasn't been lyrical in the past, it's just kind of been delivered in this really flat tone that has been a real turnoff for me. And hopefully, you know, things just work for me a little bit better on this forthcoming record. But this song so far, Bamboo, really liking it. Moving on from there, Clarence Clarity has a new track out titled Fold'em, featuring a rapper named SHADI or Shady. It's probably not Shady. I'll say SHADI. Although I apologize if I'm not saying that correctly. Clarence Clarity changing direction on this track quite a bit. I mean, excuse me. Oh my God. We do these raw, and that's what happens. Clarence Clarity made one of my favorite albums of a few years ago. It's titled No Now, one of the craziest, most dense, most experimental, and insane pop records you will ever lay your ears on, period. Like, if you're a music producer, if you produce music at home, this record will make you shit your pants. You'll be like, man, I don't know anything about anything. Because it's so dense. It's so amazingly arranged. It's so crazily orchestrated. This dude is insane. But now it seems like with this new track over here, he's starting to strip things back a little bit, peel back some of those layers, do something a little poppier, a little bit more accessible. And obviously he even leaves room for a rap verse on this track. I mean, the rapper is wild on the song. I mean, I can't really say that it's a conventional verse or a conventional delivery or anything like that. I can't even say there's much conventional about this song. You know, it is still very wild. It is still very out there. Maybe not as strange as I expect Clarence to be, because, you know, I do love No Now. I do love sort of his early EP stuff, now that I've sort of had a chance to hear it. But, you know, I could see this direction kind of benefiting his music because, you know, I do think he is too out there for the average listener, you know, and for him to do something a little bit easier on the ears could be good. And the song does sound decent to me. I like the song. Maybe it's not as, you know, densely produced and sort of overwhelming, which I do like, but I do think it's a fun tune. Moving on from there, WAVVES with Million Enemies. Yes, I'm loving this song. WAVVES, I'm liking the boom. I'm loving the boomy, bombastic, crazy off-the-wall production that this track brings. I'm loving how, you know, it sort of seems like the sound is so modern, but it sort of still has the spirit of a rock song, and I like that. You know, and that's what I've been liking from all the tracks I've heard so far on this record. So to hear that sort of manifesting itself more and more and more with every track that comes out has me excited. You know, obviously the Nathan's kind of vocals are still there. You know, that kind of snotty, nasally, punky sort of attitude he has is there. You know, but it's kind of his thing. It's his trademark. And, you know, the sound is huge on this track, and I'm loving that. It's a real ballsy, heavy, in-your-face kind of track, but with, you know, kind of a silly, tongue-in-cheek, kind of playful sort of attitude about it. Moving on from there, Farra, The Only Ones. This is kind of this is a bit of an odd tune over here. Not going to say it's a great song. You know, Farra is this really odd project on the Italians Do It Better label that came out with one of my favorite singles of all time called Gay Boy. And if you look that song up, you will cringe. I'm not going to say you're not going to cringe, but the fact that that song is so cringy, that's what makes me love it. I love how cringy that song is. It's such a terrible but lovable track. And now Farra has some new music coming out on the Italians Do It Better label. This one titled "The Only Ones." This part of the single that's being released. And you know, I'm just gonna say check it out. I think it's fun. I'm having fun listening to it. My enjoyment may be the slightest bit ironic, but hey, you know what? I don't think Farra would have it any other way. Moving on from there, King Gizzard with the song Digital Black. King Gizzard is coming out with their next record of this year in June, because the band, I guess, again, they've promised to come out with like 4, 5, 100 albums this year. And this track is one of the tracks that has been released from this forthcoming record, because apparently it's like a bit of a 3-chapter kind of thing. And the band has released the entire 3rd chapter on YouTube and on Facebook. And, you know, you can hear each song in this chapter, and all the songs are available on Apple Music now and probably other streaming services as well. And the song Digital Black, the heavy riffage, the song is almost progressive and theatrical too. Like, I really love that it sounds like they're going in a totally different direction with this forthcoming record than they did their last album. And man, the fact that the creativity this band is bringing to the table is so dense, it's so amazing, it's so endless that they can come out with this sound that is just so diametrically different than everything that they were doing on their last record. Like, it's so heavy and doomy, and it's again, I will say theatrical. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm floored. I'm fucking floored, and my mouth is watering. I'm excited for this forthcoming record, and I'm just going to say, Digital Black, check this song out. If you check out any song that I've recommended in this video this week, check out this fucking song. And I want to shout out Dangerdoom, the song Mad Nice featuring Black Thought and Vinny Price. Dangerdoom, the infamous, not infamous, but more legendary project featuring Danger Mouse and MF Doom came together, and they're coming together with a bit of a reissue of the album, and there are going to be a couple tracks that were not released with the initial album, and this song is one of them, and it's a good track. So if you're a Dangerdoom fan, if you're an MF Doom fan, please do make sure you give the song a listen. Don't let it slip through the cracks for you. And that's going to be it. So that's the video. Thank you for watching. Again, I want to mention Amazon Associates link down there, Turntable Lab link down there. We get kickback from that, and our sponsor, feedbands.com. That's feedbands.com. Check them out. Very unique service that they have going on over there. And that's going to be it for this video, everybody. Thank you for watching. Hope you got some good recommendations out of this thing. Hope you were entertained by my disappointment, or my disgust rather, with the new Fast and the Furious soundtrack. And we are gonna leave it there. Okay? I will catch you guys in the next video. Forever.